Okay, Mbulabinaka, welcome again to another session of our Level Up Fiji Crypto Education 2024. Our series is on the ISO 222 crypto tokens and coins. So today we are looking at Hbar or Hedera. So this is Hgraph, Hedera. It's a governance token. So today we're going to learn more about this ISO token. So this is our fourth coin, fourth token for this ISO standard. My name is Chonasa Randindisai, and I'm here in Fiji. I'm one of the crypto educators. I have a private group for students. And just a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advice. This should not be a financial advice. Please do your due diligence, do your own research. This is for your educational purposes only. And today, we are going to look at Hedera or Hbar. After the video, we will then go to Q&A for our special students. So if you want to join the class, please do leave a comment, and then contact is on the link below this video. You can find the links, and then you can contact me personally to get into the class. So that's for it today. So sit back, let's see what Hedera will offer and what are they doing with the ISO standard, especially for Hedera network. So we'll learn more on the video, and then we'll come back for our Q&A.
Hedera is a public network similar to the internet and all those different type of blockchains we've talked about in the past. And Hedera specifically runs on a Hashgraph form of technology, which is a relatively new type of data management that uses proof-of-stake consensus mechanism. Now that may sound really technical to you, but by the end of this video, I promise you'll know exactly what it means. Welcome to Whiteboard Crypto, the #1 YouTube channel for crypto education. Here, we explain topics of the cryptocurrency world using analogies, stories, and examples so that anyone can easily understand them. In this video, we're going to be explaining what Hedera Hashgraph does, how their token Hbar actually works, who the team is that developed it, and the tokenomics so that you can better make predictions about them. So jumping right in, the internet is a public network where anyone can create content and share it with anyone else. Most people have a basic understanding that the internet is basically just shared information, but few people who use the internet actually know how it works, and that's completely okay. Just like we don't need to understand how all the pieces of a car work to drive it, we don't need to completely understand how the internet works to use it. Still, it wasn't always as easy to create and share content as it is today. Different types of technology have been introduced to help people build on the internet more easily. Hedera is creating a suite of tools that will supposedly make it easier to build on a new type of decentralized network that they call hashgraphs. So this brings us to the first big question. What is a hashgraph? Before we can understand what Hedera does, we have to understand something called hashgraphs, the information sharing technology that Hedera uses. If you're familiar with blockchains, you may know about something called the blockchain trilemma of decentralization, security, and scalability. Basically, this trilemma means that one blockchain cannot solve all three of these problems. Usually, it can only solve two very well, and the third one is lacking. Hashgraph technology, however, supposedly can. It does this because Hedera isn't even a blockchain. In fact, it uses a special type of technology called a DAG, which stands for Directed Acyclic Graph, that orders transactions shared on the network. Now, it's a little complicated, but if you know how IOTA works, Hedera is quite similar. Also similar to a proof-of-stake blockchain, Hashgraph technology utilizes nodes, where anyone can host a node that will help maintain the network. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck's a node? Well, a node is usually some software that stores and updates the transactions and the ledger on someone's computer. So theoretically, even you could be a node. Now, what a hash graph does is make sure that every event on the hash graph shows up in the ledger, which can be a transaction, it could be a message, a smart contract, any other form of information sharing. And it usually has these four things. Number one, a timestamp of when the transaction reached the ledger. Number two, the transaction itself, whatever that transaction was. Number three, the hash of the last message created by the node. And number four, the hash of the last message created by the node that sent them this message. As an example, to make that a little easier to understand, we can think about like a phone call as an event. If you call your friend over the phone keeps track of when you received that call. Then you tell your friend about an awesome new video game that you bought, which this might be the content of the transaction. You also tell your friend that you actually called your brother and told them first. So now your friend knows four different things. They know what time you called them, they know what your message was, they know who you talked to before talking to them, and they also know what they did before you called them. So maybe they talked to a friend about something else. This is basically what a hash graph is doing. It's keeping track of all of this information for each person or node that they send and receive. Okay, but what about if you lie to your friend about who you spoke to before them? What if you actually spoke to your sister instead of your brother, but you didn't want your friend to know that because maybe they don't get along or something? This is actually a really big concern when it comes to information sharing, especially when it has to do with money. Because what if I'm trying to buy something but someone else claims that they bought it first? Well, the thing is, my sister would know that I called her first, and whoever she spoke to after that would also have the information, because remember, they also get the information about who she talked to last. The timestamps that are a part of every message show the event of her talking to me happened before the event of me talking to my friend or her talking to her friend. So overall, every single node, or in our example, every single person, gets a copy of all of these events. So every person has exactly the same information, very similar to a blockchain. But in the actual hash graph technology, all the contents of the messages are actually hashed to keep private and encrypted. So you can't actually tell what these messages say, you just know that they're there. This way, your friend wouldn't know actually who you talked to or what was said, just that you did indeed talk to someone at a specific time. As I mentioned earlier, IOTA also uses a DAG, and the way that they make sure their nodes aren't lying and that there is one single seamless list of transactions is that they use something called a coordinator, which is quite controversial, but it basically means that it's quite centralized. Hedera does something similar, except they call it the gossip protocol. In fact, the system of one node telling another node about even another node has been dubbed the gossip protocol by Hedera, and it's very much like gossip in middle school, where nodes are always sharing transaction data similar to middle schoolers sharing the latest gossip. So since all of this gossip is in the form of hashes, and Hashgraph uses a DAG, which stands for Directed Acyclic Graph, you can see where Hedera came up with hash graph. The messages are hashed, and the form of a network is technically a graph. But what about that lying I mentioned earlier? What about gossip that isn't real, or maybe gossip that is manipulative? Can Hedera solve fraudulent transactions or gossip? As a fun fact, the way that the math works out is that with a hash graph, 2/3 of all nodes need to have the same information and agree on it for the transactions to continue. With a blockchain, 51% of nodes need to agree on the information. This 51% number is a number that gets thrown around a lot in the crypto world because people are concerned about bad people taking over control of the network. So far, no one has actually reached and maintained 51% control in a blockchain. Right now, while Hedera is still in development, there are only 39 companies that host nodes on its Hashgraph network. So honestly, it wouldn't be too hard to get a group of them to agree to do something malicious. They do say though that as the network grows and becomes more robust in terms of security and performance, Hedera will open node operations to more companies and even eventually individuals. Okay, so that's what a hashgraph does. Hashgraphs are patented, which is personally something I don't like seeing in decentralized technology, and it basically means that only Hedera Hashgraph can use this technology, nobody else can. Well, let's get into who is Hedera Hashgraph and what do they specifically do. So Hedera Hashgraph is actually a company based in Dallas, Texas, and founded by the inventor of the Hashgraph technology, Lehman Baird, and his business partner, Mance Harmon. Hedera is, like I mentioned earlier, technically owned by 39 entities, of which you might recognize some, like Google, Boeing, IBM, LG, and Ubisoft are just a few. Now, the board of directors and management team are all doxed, basically meaning that you can find out all kinds of information about them if you want to. They're not anonymous. Despite all these being companies that protect their use of patents, they've apparently voted to make the Hashgraph algorithm open source at some point, but we'll let you know when that happens. Basically, Hedera is a company that has created several services to help developers build applications on their Hashgraph mainnet, and they do all this with the intent that companies and people all over the world can have easy access to this technology. They believe that blockchain technology is too complicated, that it's too slow and it's insecure for widespread adoption. I don't know if I agree with that, but they think hash graphs solve the speed and security issues. So these services that Hedera offers are there to help the use of it become less complicated. Now they do have three main services. The first is the consensus service, which this is used to post messages on the hash graph for timestamping and ordering. The second service they have is the smart contract service, and this helps developers create programs with a Solidity code. And number three, they have something called a token service, which allows applications to perform transactions. Anyone can access these services. You don't need to host a node to use Hedera services. And in fact, currently, you can't host a node anyway, even if you wanted to. One thing I do like about Hedera is that there are already hundreds of applications running on Hedera. These include DeFi applications, stablecoins, decentralized exchanges, and NFT marketplaces. There's even some games being developed on it. However, since they use an EVM, which is short for Ethereum Virtual Machine, almost any application built on Ethereum can easily be moved over to the Hashgraph network. Speaking of EVM and DeFi, I'm actually working on a project right now that'll actually teach you how to write Solidity code and eventually develop a portfolio of Web3 applications. If you want early access to this program, I'm only letting in a certain number of people to the first group, and if you've made it this far into my video during a bear market, I know that you're serious about the technology of Web3. You can head over to whiteboardcrypto.com or use the link in the description below to join the waitlist. This Web3 bootcamp that I'm calling it should be out really soon, and I'm super excited to help out the first round of developers create some new dApps and actually get Web3 jobs. Anyways, back to Hedera. Anyone can access Hedera's services and the ecosystem being built on top of it by using Hedera's native token HBAR. Let's get into the HBAR token. HBAR is used for two things: as fuel for transactions and to secure the network by staking to nodes. So this is pretty common. Just like I need United States dollars to make transactions in the US, or that Ethereum users need ETH to make transactions on the Ethereum network, Hedera users need HBAR to perform transactions on the Hedera Hashgraph. HBAR is used by developers as well as people that use the apps and services on Hedera, like you and me. Now, even though you can't host your own node, anyone can get some rewards by staking their HBAR. And if you don't know what that means, you should check out our video about staking to understand how it provides network security. But basically, instead of using a proof of work consensus mechanism, HBAR uses a proof of stake consensus mechanism. One note here for experienced viewers that know how the normal proof of stake mechanism works is that HBAR doesn't have slashing, which means if there's a bad actor and they're proven to be a bad staker, they don't get their tokens slashed or taken away. I wonder if this is because the big tech companies don't want that risk, because their reasoning behind it is basically that slashing doesn't work. This, on top of Hedera's documentation also mentioning that it might only take a third of the network to perform an attack, is kind of alarming. Oh, and another thing about their staking mechanism, technically this is not a proof of stake consensus mechanism. It is what is called a delegated proof of stake, because you are giving your voting power to one of the mainnet nodes who votes for you, one of the 39 big companies. This is important because you can't actually make your own votes. You can only give your power to someone else who votes for you. Moving forward, transactions and tokens on Hedera achieve up to 10,000 transactions per second. In comparison, Ethereum can only handle about 12 transactions per second with their current infrastructure. The cost per transaction on Hedera is always $0.0001, which is something I've never seen before. This means it's pegged to the United States dollar. So even if HBAR triples in price or the network gets super congested, the transaction cost is the same. Transaction costs are paid in HBAR, but they're always equal to $0.0001. The HBAR token was originally released in 2018 in a private funding round, and there will only ever be 50 billion HBAR tokens minted. We call this a total supply cap. Right now, there are around 23 billion HBAR tokens in circulation, which is a little under half, and because of this, it's probably going to be inflationary for a while. Another interesting thing I found is that currently there are 800,000 transactions per day and over 1.1 million accounts. In comparison, Polygon has 3 million transactions per day and 175 million unique accounts. So in its user base, Hedera is still quite small. It is always a good thing to see that you can purchase them on major exchanges though, like Binance and KuCoin, and I've heard rumors of them being added to Coinbase soon. As I wrap this video up, it's neat to see a new type of ledger technology that claims to solve all the problems we're seeing in the blockchain. But we need to note that even though they claim to be decentralized, only 39 major corporations are currently hosting nodes, which is not decentralized. It would also take far less for a malicious person to take over the network or cause major problems. So I'm not really sure that it can live up to its claims, but I guess we'll see if time tells. Wrapping this video up, if you want to learn more about that Web3 bootcamp that I plan on
Amazing. So that's Hedera Hashgraph or Hashgraph. Many things has been said to that. One is the node. The node helps the transaction. They validate a transaction on a blockchain, especially for Hedera. For the network, another one is the slashing. If you heard that in the last video, the slashing. Another word for slashing is burning the token. Let's say a node has been verifying the transaction and it's doing the having to produce the new Hedera coin. So if they violate the rules for the nodes, they get banned, and all the coins or Hedera H bar they produce, it's gonna get burned. Or slashing, that what means slashing. So it's gonna get burned. That when they violate the rules of the nodes, providing the nodes inside the blockchain. So those are some of the rules of Hedera. And then we can see, because Hedera or hashing or the Hashgraph is the identifier for the blockchain. It has the time, stamp, date, transaction. So it is the important part for the blockchain. So any project, because whenever you're sending a transaction, you need an identifier. This is called identifier, a Hashgraph. So if you made a transaction, you will see there is a transaction there, and there will be something that is called a hash. A hash is the identifier. So that's where Hedera Hashgraph comes in. So this provide the services in the blockchain for the timestamp and everything to be validated, so that no one can corrupt or manipulate the system as well. So that's something about Hedera. We're gonna go straight to Hedera. Let's look at Hedera in our coin market cap. After this, once we stop the recording, then we will go to Q&A. Q&A is only for our students, so in a circle. So if you want to know more about the blockchain or crypto, you need to be in the circle of students so that you can be able to ask questions as well. Okay. Oh, this would be very hard because the internet. I think I'll just share the Telegram, Hedera Telegram group. Let's see if we can get that Hedera Telegram group. Okay, Hedera. Okay. We're gonna go right into Telegram, Hedera Telegram community page. So this is a way to do it so that my computer or my network does not shut down in the middle while going through the website. Okay, so this is Hedera community. As of today, we have a new Web3, and you can see here the more partners are coming into the Hedera network. As now the institution I had come into crypto, and now they're coming towards Hedera. It will be the main part to play the role, especially in decentralizing. That's why the standard of ISO standard is important for institution to use this crypto. So it has to be ISO 222 standard compliant. So now, as you can see in the community, more and more institutions are partner with Hedera, the network. They're using the network because of what the network is doing, Hedera is doing to the blockchain. Verifying the transaction, it's very important, as you can see, very important. Okay, here, legendary IOTA or IoT network, present numbers. They are coming in and partner. We have a partner here. Skull plus Visa as well is now partner with Hedera network. This is the council for Hedera Council. As you can see, you can identify some of these world brand that are leading in the technology today. So this is the council for Hedera Council. So they're building the future for the network. Okay, you can see BitGold right there. Those are Bitcoin wallet providers, Australia Payment Plus, Chainlink, Bowling, very good customers. So soon they'll be doing crypto payments. So they will need Hedera to verify transaction and everything for all of their customers for Bowling. IBM Computer, Hitachi. Okay, we also have some banks here, WorldPay. You can see them, world leading brand. So they are going to move into, they're coming into the crypto space. Hedera will play a major part for this company in their transaction. So that is why an ISO payment system is important to lend them now. So if you're holding HBAR now, this is your future. This will be the future. This would be one, something like a real estate. It's not a financial advice, but it would be something to hold on to for the future development. Institutions start to come in now. In the next 10 to 20 years' time, everything is going to be built, and Hedera will play a major role for that. All ISO standard crypto will play a major role. So that's something to know, something very important. We also have some companies, like we have here, a credit union industry, Prime here. They're coming into Hedera as well as a member of a council. Here, this is the co-founder, Lemon Bride. Okay, you can, most of the thing here you can see in their community. Okay, any changes, protocols, you can see here, the gaming are coming too, Web3 gaming platform, Circle Game, over 200 registered users. So they are going to use this as they are to pay their players, like in rewards in gaming. So this is also a major part in Web3 gaming coming to the future. So you have some conferences is always happening around the world. Here we have on April 16 in Washington, you have an open source summit. Okay. Here you have some new members here. Okay, some for security. These are partners for open source foundation. Okay, it's very important. This is very important. Now Hedera will play a part in the metaverse identity. So if you have seen the goggles for the iVision Pro for Apple, that is the metaverse. So Hedera will also play a part there when you're doing payment system in the or metaverse, virtual reality. It's coming. So Hedera is a major blockchain or technology that is here. As you can see here, BitGo, build on the future together, partnering up. So yeah, we even have a chocolate company. This is a chocolate company here, also coming, Modezellas International. So they'll be using their product to be paid in crypto. So Hedera will play a part in verifying those transactions for their client. and for their users as well. So this is playing out in a real world scenario where crypto will be part of the new financial system. So companies are now starting to build on a blockchain, and these are very, very much key players. They play the role. So very important. It's going to come whether you like it or not. The people are now building on the blockchain as we speak right now. So that's it. I think you get the idea. They have their own wallet as well. Okay. There's some new members coming into the council member for Hedera. Okay. And yeah. Okay, we'll then stop the video now, and then we'll do our Q&A. But for if you're watching this a recording or in a YouTube video, please do subscribe and leave a comment. Please join our Fiji group where we can discuss more about crypto and what's happening around the world. It's so important that we understand where we are going. We are moving towards the future where AI and technology is going to be major key players for our everyday life. We might not see it today, but the technology is going to develop. Institutions are starting to just come in this year. You see all these ETFs has been approved around the world. Australia yesterday. Now Japan is coming very soon. Singapore, Thailand just ready to file their ETF. So when they come in, and after that, they're going to build everything onto the blockchain. So as we move towards there, your information is so important so that you can stay ahead of everybody else and follow what other companies and countries are doing, are building inside into a new technology, which is the blockchain. So for that, I say thank you so much for coming. I hope you join our class so that you can get your question answered. So we'll stop the video recording, and then we'll go for our Q&A.